The next morning when Thomas woke up, he knew exactly what to do. Thomas puffed across the island. He was looking for Mavis. Mavis wasn't like the other diesel engines. She was kind. Thomas knew she would help him with his plan. Thomas needs to find Mavis quickly, but he doesn't know where she is. How can Thomas find Mavis? Mavis's horn doesn't sound like anyone else's. Perhaps that will help Thomas to find her. Will you help Thomas listen for Mavis's horn? Thomas is wondering where to look first. Where does Mavis work? That's right. The quarry. Let's listen with Thomas and see if Mavis is here. Did that sound like Mavis's horn? No, that was a whistle. Percy's whistle. Thomas will have to look somewhere else. Perhaps Mavis is collecting something at Brendam Docks. Why don't you listen with Thomas again to see if she's here? Did that sound like Mavis's horn? You're right, it was a horn. But not Mavis's horn. It was Salty's horn. Thomas will have to look somewhere else. Maybe Mavis is having a washdown. Listen with Thomas. Did that sound like Mavis's horn? Yes, you're right. That did sound like Mavis's horn. But this doesn't look like Mavis. But only because she was covered in soap suds. Thomas has found Mavis, but he couldn't have done it without your help. Thomas told Mavis all about his plan. Thomas wanted the steam engines and the diesels to work together. Mavis agreed. It is the only way to get the airport open. But how will we get all of the engines to work together? Asked Thomas. First, we all need to talk to each other, said Mavis. Then Thomas had an idea. Let's have a big meeting with all of the engines at the coaling plant tomorrow, he puffed. Thomas and Mavis went to see the other engines to tell them all about the meeting. Thomas told Percy, then James, then Emily. Mavis told Diesel, then Harry, then Bert. Soon all the engines on the island knew about the meeting. All of the engines except one. Thomas wanted to tell Diesel 10 about the meeting. But as he got closer and closer, Thomas got frightened. And he puffed quickly away. He was sure Diesel 10 would never work with the steamies anyway. Thomas had told the engines about the meeting, but it had taken a very long time. Thomas was too tired to go back to Emily's sheds. So that night, Thomas slept outside. He pulled slowly into a siding. The forest was dark, but Thomas's lantern shone brightly. Thomas wanted to tell someone all about his adventures that day. But he only had an owl for company. Emily wondered where Thomas Arthur Murdoch was. He must be staying with Percy, she puffed. Emily was pleased. She had the shed to herself again. But without Thomas, it seemed a little too quiet. She missed hearing all about the day. She even missed the sound of Thomas's sleep whistle.